Yo, welcome back to another Semen retention episode. Let's go, boys. Is it time to relax? I don't know if it's time to relax, but I'm gonna have a sip of this coffee and we're gonna have a little chat today, okay? So, 14 months in on semen retention, Stephen retention, holding on to that seed, not letting it go. Over the last couple of weeks, I decided to dabble in on those dating apps, yes I know, and just talking to girls in general that I know, that I've met in public and stuff like that through friends. I've just been coming into things as an observer. So I wanted to embrace a little bit of my shadow. My analogy is that the further we go towards the light, the bigger the shadow we cast beneath us. And I think it's important that we do reflect and look below us and see how big our shadow can become, because do we want to repress these feelings or do we want to acknowledge them as we go? Doesn't mean we have to relapse. No, I don't think so. Does it mean we have to release? No. Do we even have to partake in sex? I don't think so. The opportunity has been laid out bare for me, literally in the last week. It's just been available for me, but I haven't done it. Why? Because there's something about just, not having some sort of connection, some soul tie, some karmic relation through, doing the physical deed with someone that might not be really good for you in any way. Like, someone might be totally obsessed with you. Someone might be totally distant and, conditional with you. I.e., can you pay for this or can you take me here? Versus, I'm going to rock up to your window at 3 a.m. just to check that you're not sleeping with someone else. So I'm kind of walking through life right now and just being like, okay, it feels almost like when you go back to your shadow, it feels like you're getting sucked down a black hole, especially in this world of corn, hedonism, just overly kind of desire-based, lust-based kind of tendencies. And I can't help but think that there is like this kind of seasonal thing that occurs where we're meant to engage in these things as far as, being able to populate more human beings on the planet and multiply and all that kind of stuff. So within the star system and the seasons and the way that the planet works, I don't know. I'm not going to get too into it, but I just think that there are certain seasons that encourage, okay, it's time to get in there, time to go, do the deed. Because I know that recently a few of my subscribers have been relapsing, and I think that's just the energy of it's time to go out there. And that's why I just, instead of resisting it, I decided to go out there. I didn't take off my pants. I kept things PG, maybe M15 as far as, the way I talked. But I wasn't going to put myself in that situation, especially on like a first interaction. I've elevated past that. I think some people just let things like the lighting and the alcohol and, the sweet talk and the posturing and all that kind of stuff kind of get to them, and they fall for the bait. It was just bait. It was a test, and you failed the test. You succumbed to it. The great thing about YouTube is that there's people that have had 1 year streaks and they've told their journeys. Like there's this YouTuber, I don't know who he is. I think he wasn't like a prominent kind of YouTuber, but he uploaded a video about how he had 1 year of semen retention, but he actually didn't make 1 year streak. He just missed it because this girl came into his life and he was head over heels for her. They did the deed a few times and then she left him like within the space of like a month or something like that. And that's why we have this platform, is that we can actually use it to educate each other as to what actually goes on. Like you might meet the girl of your dreams, but then she's going to leave you after a month because she wasn't the girl of your dreams. Maybe she was. Maybe it was just a very short-term dream. And was that dream needing for you to release? Maybe that's how you were meant to pass on the lesson. Maybe that's how that lesson got passed on to me, so I didn't do that when I had my encounter with the girl of my dreams. And you know what's funny is that this interaction was very, very, very similar, timing-wise, to when I had my little one-night stand with the Spanish girl. I think some of you probably have heard this story a million times, but basically what happened was, around 10 months, just at one of my gigs, this Spanish girl throws herself at me saying, I'm free tonight. And we do it. I decide to hold back. I decide to hold on. Don't release, all that kind of stuff. And then, I kept myself in line. I kept myself in check. And I saved myself from a lot of heartache and issues because A, I held on to that life essence, and B, she went off somewhere else. She went to a different state altogether. So it was like, dodged a bullet. Could have got feelings for someone that, was just wanting a free night. And then I ended up having another experience about 2 months later. This time someone from a dating app, and then again went on a date, had some drinks, blah blah blah. Took her back to mine because she wanted to drop me home. I was going to get public transport home. She's like, no, I'll drop you home. So she went all the way out of her way to drop me home. And then after that, after doing it with her and stuff and holding on, I was like, okay, let's see what happens. And then the next day she's like, oh, that was a bit of fun, blah, 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 via message. She'd left that night. And then she messaged me in the night saying, oh, I just accidentally hit on a guy that has a girlfriend. And I'm like, what? Why do you need to tell me this? Is this meant to turn me on? Because it's not. And I just said, that's cringe. Like, I didn't say that's cringe. I sent some emojis that kind of implied that. So the point is that holding on to semen and doing semen retention really brings that clarity, and thank God for stuff like YouTube, where we've got each other kind of educating each other and sharing our real live stories, So that's kind of what's up. So, I've just been thinking about a lot of things just in regards to that, and I found myself a bit more glued to my phone, and still did a lot of my routines and still doing my gigs, still killing it on my purpose. But I am cautionary. I'm cautionary about just women in general, because I don't think they have the same kind of discipline as we do. I don't think they ever will. I don't think they're made to be. I think what we're meant to do is we're meant to build ourselves into being a king. And the result of that is, at its highest level, is to be basically above the law, above society's expectations, super wealthy, super smart, super innovative, have a lot of influence and power. That's basically what this journey will take you towards, if you want to go down that line. I'm not saying everyone wants to be that extroverted kind of, powerful figure. Sometimes you could probably just channel this into your own kind of spiritual thing, but I know in my life I want to have certain things, like for example, I want to have a house with a studio in it, like a proper studio in it, so I can just practice and record music for the rest of my life. I'm 30 years old now. I should be able to keep recording music, well into my 60s. So that's kind of the plan, is to just keep channeling on and holding on to that, and like, you know, just like keep holding down that like thing, and not get too distracted by these kind of like fleshly desires, I guess you could say, you know. My dad, he worked really hard and faced some financial issues when we were growing up, but then, you know, completely swung it around just through perseverance and absolute determination and hard work and upskilling and all that kind of stuff. And he's built us a lifestyle that, you know, has really helped us kids, or children of his, to, you know, have been brought up well. And, you know, my mum didn't really do much. Like, she did hold the line down with a full-time job as a teacher. But she wasn't really involved in like cooking. She did clean the house maybe here and there, but my dad also cleaned the house as much. And I just started to realize that, you know, being in these kind of long-term relationships, these marriages and stuff, you sacrifice a lot as a man. And now, my dad being retired, he finally gets to do the things that he wants to do. But he's in the minority. He's a 1%er of men, because he managed to swing things around just through absolute determination to get there. And maybe a bit of luck, maybe a bit of, you know, just like things falling into place. But a lot of men out there will get married and then they'll get divorced, and then they're that classic dude that you see at the bar that's like drinking a beer and watching the horse racing because they're hoping to get that lucky break. But it's never going to come because they fell into a rigged system. And all these systems and these cultures that are put in place for us, the matrix, you know, it keeps us in that illusion of status and collecting, you know, certain titles and all that kind of stuff, only for them to be stripped away straight away. Like, you think about that Coldplay song Viva La Vida, where it's like, you know, basically the lyrics are about this kind of ruler. You know, I used to rule the world, seas would rise when I gave the world. Now in the morning I sleep alone, sweep the streets I used to own. So, you know, that whole song's about this kind of king-like figure that loses it all, you know? And I think that's almost like a rite of passage for men. I think like men have to lose it all at some point. Whether it be in your early 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, you got to lose it all at some stage and understand what is it that you really need. Speaking of Chris Martin, apparently him and Dakota Fanning or whatever it is have been engaged for 8 years but never got married, and I think it's called off or something like that, because why would Chris Martin, like singer of the most successful band from like the early 2000s, like sign a contract that says you're entitled to my wealth and my, you know, 30 years in the music industry being top dog, you're entitled to that. It's like, why would he sign a contract that says that? He's already got 2 kids with Gwyneth Paltrow. Like, why would he waste his time doing that? Yeah, it's really baffling, these concepts like marriage and stuff. I think they're naturally kind of outdated. Honestly, I don't think that there's any real benefit. Like, women are earning a lot more money these days, but they're getting taxed as well. Like, they're getting all the taxes on them and stuff. Like, for example, I went on a date with a nurse, and she was telling me how she bought this car, and this salesman kind of like reeled her in, and he's like, oh, you know, you can do this, I'll give you that. And then she was telling me how, you know, she ended up falling for the bait and in purchasing this car because this charismatic salesman, like, you know, basically reeled her in. I thought it was funny because she was saying how much she liked it, but she didn't know how to use the car, like classic female. And, you know, she liked how it had seat warming and a dash cam and all this kind of stuff. And like, I was just thought it was funny because for me, when I go in a car, I go in my car to drive to work and clock up miles, because as a musician, you drive a lot. You drive distances and stuff, getting to your gigs and stuff. And I don't think about how warm my ass needs to feel. I think about how much can I deduct off my tax, so that way when it comes to earning my actual money for the year, I claim all those expenses and stuff on my tax. Whereas for a nurse, and for a lot of women, like corporate women and stuff, they have these big fat cars and these, you know, these expenses on their clothes and all that sort of stuff, but they can't deduct it. So they're essentially just losing money all the time. And that's why they want a sugar daddy. That's why they want a simp. That's why they want like a beta male to provide all the luxuries for them out of his own pocket, because they do work that they can't actually, you know, they can't actually claim their assets on via tax. So as a musician, I claim my clothes, my car, my instruments. I could spend $20,000 on a grand piano and completely deduct that amount of money off my tax that year, which would be an amazing way of keeping the amount of tax that I pay low and also acquiring assets that appreciate over time. That was worth a big gulp of coffee. We somehow went from Chris Martin to tax deductions, but that's what Semen retention's all about. It's like we're going with the flow, and I'm trying to educate you from a multiple multiple like areas, you know, in life. It's not just about the cultivation of your sexual energy, it's about moving through this world and understanding what it is that will make your life better in all aspects. Money is an important thing. I'm not going to drop money. I'm not going to drop money on the floor and just say, okay, it will come back to me. Like, if I'm going to drop money on the floor, it will be to someone that's begging. It will be to a kid that, you know, would really love seeing like $2 on the floor and be like, oh, $2. Anyway, I'm babbling on. Thanks for watching Semen Retention. This was a bit of a free flow video, but I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers guys, catch up.